It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. When you see Amy Ryan act, there's something about her that just kind of gets in your head. Maybe you saw her on The Wire. She was Beadie, the port cop who ends up dating one of the main characters. She's sort of plain-spoken, salt of the earth, a little vulnerable, too. Or maybe you saw her in Gone Baby Gone, where she earned herself an Academy Award nomination. Or maybe you saw her being hilarious on The Office, where she played Steve Carell's character's girlfriend, Holly. All of those are great supporting roles, but now in the new movie Abundant Acreage Available, Amy Ryan is taking the lead. The movie centers around Amy's character Tracy and her relationship with her brother, Jesse. He's played by Terry Kinney. Tracy and Jesse's father just died, and while the two siblings kind of hash things out, they're visited by a group of strangers who say their family owned the farm when they were kids. In this scene, Tracy is burying her father's cremated remains in the fields of his tobacco farm. But her brother is very seriously religious, and he thinks they should have a more formal funeral.
I'm putting him here, Jesse, in the earth. Right here, right now. You don't like it, you could take a flying leap. What do you want? You want to put him up at that columbarium at Prospect United Methodist? Maybe we go visit him once a week or month, bring him some flowers that'll just die and wilt in front of him?
The way it's done, with a ceremony. And Pastor Goodwin, not that new girl.
This is his place. Here with us, with his two kids on his farm where he spent his life. This is where he should be for eternity.
Amy Ryan, welcome to Bullseye. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Amy Ryan, you're a very gifted actress in many areas and categories. However, one thing that you are famous for is not messing up accents. And I know that that's like one of the more technical and less artistic parts of acting, and we'll talk about art stuff in a minute. But what do you have to do to not mess up an accent?
Oh my gosh. I think not make fun of the people that you're trying to portray. At least that's what I'm always trying to go for. But I don't go that far where, when I'm back offset and I'm at the, Starbucks, I'm not like throwing out the accent to strangers on the street. Because I feel like that'll be the one time someone recognizes me from that actress from New York who's now suddenly oddly speaking with a Southern accent.
I mean, you were nominated for an Oscar for a movie, Gone Baby Gone, which was, it felt like part of the premise of the film was, what if there was a movie set in Boston that wasn't making fun of the fact that it was set in Boston?
Yeah. I remember before we started filming that, Ben Affleck said to me, he said, this being my first film, it may turn out that I'm not a good director, but I know one thing, I'm going to get Boston right, finally. I'll be the one to do it. And I think he set the bar high with Ben and John Toll. Went out and shot B-roll footage of locals and just kind of captured them on their porches or, kids playing in the street, and then intercut that through the movie. And he handed us that footage before we started filming, and he told us all, it's your job to blend in with them. I'm not asking them to blend into us, so that's your challenge there. And it was actually very helpful to have that visual before we shot anything.
You're from Flushing in Queens. Are there things about Flushing that seem definitional to you? Like if you were in Ben Affleck's position making Gone Baby Gone,
yeah.
There are things that like people don't get about it?
Yeah, in terms of like the sound, I was friends of, other actor friends might ask me if her Queens accent. I was like, it's one long word with many syllables. There's no, so it's, do you want to get a hot dog? Like there's nothing cutting it, and there's no diction. And the subtext behind everything is pretty much, why are you asking me why are you such an effing jerk? It's what time is it? Why? I don't know. Why are you asking? It's we're used to maybe being beat up upon in the scheme of the 5 boroughs. We know we're not the top of the list, so we're fighting. But now, I'm very proud of Queens. It's the most diverse borough with the most languages spoken in all of New York, so I root for it.
Were you proud of being from Queens when you lived in Queens as a kid and as a teenager?
I was until I started going to school in Manhattan, and they told me that I'm from Queens. So, in the teenage years, I loved where I grew up. We were able to play in the street and play kickball, and it was fun. But as I got older, I thought, well, there is another world out there I want to see, and I was eager to move on.
Why did you go to high school in Manhattan?
Oh, I went to Performing Arts High School, which is now called LaGuardia. So I wanted to study theater, and it's a great place to do it, and it also being a public school. So,
did you see yourself from the beginning as someone who aspired to be a character actor?
I probably didn't know that term when I was in the 6th grade. I only just knew actor or actress. But when I was 18 and started auditioning for the first time, it just so happened I was cast in a play. It was the first job, but I was going out for film and TV and such. But so at that young age, I was like, well, I'm a theater actor. That's what I am. I was just so happy to be told what I was then, because I was just so grateful to be working. So I think as I started getting cast in character parts, even in theater, it's like, well, I'm a character actress. This is great. So no, I can't really say that I designed that, but looking back on just things I used to do at home to make my family laugh and such, it was always character-based, whether it was just impersonating every member of my family or, but it was never like playing some glamorous old movie star, It was always more for comic effect and more put on a funny old gray wig than some glamorous blonde, get up.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. I'm talking with Amy Ryan. She stars in the new movie Abundant Acreage Available. It's out now. Abundant Acreage Available is your first leading part in a movie, right?
It is, yes.
Was that by design on your part, or a function of the way that show business works, or what mix of the two?
I think it was just a weird luck of the draw, timing and such. No, it wasn't. It's not that I had suddenly had a conversation with my agent and say, like, I only want to do leads and that's it. I'm not going to work unless that comes along. It was more that Angus McLaughlin had worked with some clients at my agents on his previous film and had a relationship with them. And he sent along this next script, and that agent sent it to my agent. And that's how that started. I guess he trusted them. And so then I read it, and I was, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And it's a bit nerve-wracking, because, suddenly, like, when you're not the lead and it doesn't go well, you can, just say, well, that was somebody else's party. But when you stand up for a script and a world, and, I did think the first time this screened at Tribeca, it was the first time I was really nervous in a screening. I thought, oh, can I hold all their attention? It's me here in every scene. Are they going to get bored? Are they going to get restless? So it was a little nerve-wracking watching it.
I mean, it's something that you could have chosen. I mean, I'm not suggesting that your path was inevitably going to make you Angelina Jolie or something like that. But when you were nominated for an Oscar, you could have said that what I'm going to do with this juice that I have is be the star of, at the very least, Sundance movies. And you went a very different way when that happened.
The scripts after the Oscars, a lot of them were redundant in that suddenly I was just being offered drug-addicted moms, and they were leads of films. But I was like, well, why? Why would I try to top, Gone Baby Gone next? It's one thing to go back and revisit it as I get older, but why would I do that? So I just thought it was a lack of imagination on certain avenues, certain studios and such. So I said to my agent, I said, what would shock anybody is if suddenly I look put together and I'm a professional, playing a professional woman, and I have a hairdo and I wear skirts and heels, and and if I do a comedy, that'll really surprise everybody. And I was such a huge fan of The Office, and just so happened they were huge fans of The Wire, and the two kind of met up at the same time.
Well, I loved your performance on The Office so much. And, you know, the central magic trick of The Office is, you know, Steve Carell is so wonderfully sweet as a performer. He's just such a likable performer that he can act like an ass
Yeah.
for 20 minutes every week, and you still don't hate him. You're still not annoyed that he's there.
Yeah.
And
true.
you had a really genuinely formidable acting challenge, which is figure out how someone could fall in love with this ass. Or even just like him.
I have to credit the writers because they set it up so perfectly. And as you say, like, it's already established that he does really asinine things, and everyone grits their teeth and takes a deep breath. And I forgot which episode it is in particular, but there's one thing he says that's kind of so offensive to her. And there's this shock on her face. For a moment, you think it's going to be the regular stuff, and then she breaks out in this huge smile, like plays along with him. You thought, oh my God, well, there's a lid for every pot. You know, they're just a match made in heaven. And I think she's just as odd and goofy. You know, she might not show it as much, but she's kind of a spaz too in that way. And it was just so fun to do it. And, I remember before each take, I was like, oh my God, I feel this is going to be really embarrassing. But just going for it. I mean, it was Steve. He's just so incredible to work with.
I mean, there are a few episodes of the show where your character really fully matches him for shamelessness. There's one where you do like an impromptu parody of Slumdog Millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready to play Slumdog Millionaire?
Yes, I am.
For $100, where did Dunder meet Mifflin? A, on Easy Street. B, a tour of Dartmouth College. C, they never met. D, brushing their teeth.
Oh, I'm thinking. I'm going to say B, tour of Dartmouth College.
That is correct.
I remember when we filmed that scene because there's the audience of it was like, what was that on the field? Like
It's like field day for The Office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so we had probably 100 extras there, and they're directed to not laugh. The performer in you going out on stage and not getting laughs, even though it's right for the scene, just felt awful. Like, Steve and I would be back, like, I don't want to go out there again.
I want to play a little bit of you on The Wire, which, as you said, is sort of the role that in some ways made your career. I mean, you had a very healthy career doing television guest appearances in theater and all kinds of things for 10 or 15 years before you got on The Wire. But I mean, it's the first thing I saw you in, and I thought, wow, this lady's amazing. So the Wire, of course, was about this team of detectives and this neighborhood and gang that they are sort of trying to pull the pieces apart of. And in the second season of the show, they are assigned to the docks in Baltimore, where the show is set. And your character's name is Beadie Russel. She is a harbor policewoman, and she's also a single parent. And she gets into a relationship with, I guess, probably the lead character on the show, Jimmy McNulty, who's played by Dominic West. This is actually a scene from the fifth season. He sort of passed in and out of the show after that second season.
Yeah.
And McNulty is an alcoholic and is been drinking a lot. And he's moved in with you, but he's also away a lot. And he's very evasive and very distant. And in this scene, you're basically just trying to get through to him.
All the guys at the bar, Jimmy. All the girls. They don't show up at your wake. Not because they don't like you, but because they never knew your last name. And a month later, someone tells them, oh, Jimmy died. Jimmy who? Jimmy the cop. Oh, they say, him. And all the people on the job, all the people you spent all those hours in the radio car with, the guys with their feet up on their desk telling stories, who shorted you on the food runs, who signed your overtime slips. In the end, they're not gonna be there either. Family, that's it, family. And if you're lucky, one or two friends who are the same as family. That's all the best of us get.
I think that one of the beautiful things about your character on The Wire was that while she was a police officer and a competent one, she also was just a lady, you know?
Well, thank you.
Like none of that, but I mean, like none of that magical detective quality that TV police officers often have. Like basically the only kinds of TV police officers usually are either magical detectives or like brutish, you know, lunks.
Mm-hmm.
And she feels like a perfectly fallible but pretty nice human being.
Well, that's nice. I mean, one of my favorite things of The Wire is, you know, it's the good guys do really bad things and the bad guys do really good things. Like, it's human, so you get to see all sides of it. And you know, here's Beadie Russel fell into a huge investigation, but it's not. You know, she's like, I have 2 kids at home. Like, she almost doesn't have time for this to be swept up. You know, you see her when you first are introduced to that character. She's in a patrol car in a, you know, pretty kind of easygoing job patrolling the docks, and she's wearing headphones. She's tuned out, you know. And that's, you know, even Beadie, she's a nice person, but she's not there. And then suddenly she's literally thrown into the deep end, and she's in over her head, and she still has to manage home life and later on, as you say, like, you know, kind of personal life with McNulty. Like, it's, but I just feel like those, from the get-go, The Wire, which is also, they show all sides to all these characters, which is also a feat because there's something like over 200 characters in the whole 5 years.
I love them all so much, Amy.
I don't blame you. I love them too. I'm very proud of that show. Mm-hmm.
And you have siblings, right?
I do. I have 2 older sisters.
What's your relationship like with your older sisters?
Well, we like each other. I think we're very different, but we like each other very much.
How are they different from you?
Just that they're not, like, I remember once just walking them out onto a stage in a theater I was working at and thinking they would enjoy it too. And they were horrified by it. And it wasn't even an audience. They're like, how could you do this? This is crazy. Why would you do that? You know? But, you know, I mean, that's just one simple way. We're different.
I want to play a scene from Abundant Acreage Available. So there's this family that essentially it's you and your brother, and it opens with the scene that we heard at the beginning of the interview where the 2 of you are burying your father. And within a few days, this family of 3 brothers shows up on your property in a tent. They say their car broke down. And it turns out that they apparently grew up on this farm that you and your brother own.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the film is about trying to figure out who wants to take the farm and who wants to get away from the farm. And you and your brother are in conflict over this. And it seems like these 3 guys are there to take the farm. It's a little hard to tell. And they've just kind of stuck around. They keep inviting themselves to stay.
Yes.
And in this scene, they're just starting to wear out their welcome with you.
Did you get a good look at that field?
Yeah. Tomorrow we want to tour downtown East Bend, see what's changed.
How long are you gonna hang around?
Case.
You can't stay out there.
Well, we don't need to put you out.
No, this isn't a campground.
Well, we got our tent, little Coleman stove, you know, we'll be fine.
No, I'm saying you can't stay on our land.
You don't have to worry about us. We've always been campers.
Well, okay, maybe we should go start making our lunch.
Oh, now that's just stupid. I'm making lunch.
That's such an intense scene.
Yeah. I mean, she wants them gone, yet she has her manners that if someone's at the house, you give them lunch. you know, the character's such a doer. She only knows like work the land, make lunch, take care of other people. So she's just in what she knows.
That's one of the sort of the themes of the story is, some of us have ideas of what our life should be or like what we should achieve, and the reality of life, which is that so much of it is about putting one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And your brother's character is very religious, and he preys on it, And one of the interesting things to me about your relationship is that you have this fundamental, enormous tension between the two of you. Your character wants to keep doing what you've been doing, and his character doesn't. And that your relationship as siblings carries you through that in this weird, tortured way.
Yeah, I mean, Angus, when he's, one of his inspirations for writing this film was he came across a photo in the New York Times, and it was just a photo of three old men. Turned out they were brothers, and they were walking on a field somewhere in Poland. And he just had this idea of like, what are the relationships with older siblings? We see in film also often younger siblings fighting, not getting along and such. And what is it in, the age categories that this film depicts? And the beauty of like Tracy and Jesse played by Terry Kinney and Tracy played by me, they're polar opposites. She's not religious at all. He talks about, the devil got inside someone, and she's like, oh, stop. It was just a blood burst vessel. That's what caused a stroke. She's more practical and pragmatic. But yet there is a love there for each other. They give room for each other in the parts that they don't understand about one another. And what do you do when, so the film, like, they lose their father, and now what? Like you say, and they're off. Like, what? He wants to go. She wants to stay, I'm sure, like, fighting over land and property when families die is very common with many, many families. But they manage to keep their individuality throughout it.
You're listening to Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. I'm talking with the actress Amy Ryan. Do you think your siblings think it's cool that you're a movie star or annoying?
They better think it's cool. No, I don't think. No,
They got a pound incoming.
They've been so supportive. My whole family, my family, my sisters, my parents, my dad when he's alive, like they never put the pressure on that. They were happy I was happy, and that's like the greatest gift you can give to any actor is like leave them be. Support them but leave them be.
Was that true when you decided to work out of high school instead of going off to college?
Well, in the beginning, I remember like my dad was a little more reluctant. He's like, "What do you mean? You're an actor, and when are you gonna come work for me?" Or it was this great moment. I remember one time, and it's just about not knowing the territory and what it means, and working in the theater or traveling to go work in the theater, which scared my dad. But I remember my mom slammed her hand down on the table once at a restaurant we're all at, and she just said, she's doing what she wants. And that was it. It was never spoken about again. And my dad was very proud. I was actually talking about this. I just give as much support as I can, like to students at LaGuardia Community College out in Queens. And I was in a discussion with a group of them just yesterday. And they said, one of the questions they were saying, like, well, what do you do? Like, I want to be an international lawyer, and I come from a very traditional Pakistani family. My father wants me to be married at 18. How did you convince your family that what you were doing was right for you? And I said, they'll come around in time, but there is this moment when you slide a paycheck across the table to them, and they see that you're making money at something you love. They kind of calm down, because I feel like it's about parents are worried. They just worry about their children all the time. So it's not that they don't want them to be off on some adventure, but it's like it'll be okay. And I remember that moment, sliding my first paycheck across the table, and it was more than my dad made. He was very happy, so it was okay.
You're a parent, right?
I am. Yeah, I have an 8-year-old daughter.
What if she told you that she was going to become an actor?
I'd let her, yeah, if she wants to. Let her at least try it. If I tell her no to everything, then she's gonna, first of all, not be able to explore that side of her. I don't want to have that onus. I don't want to ruin her. If she wants to go do it, she should do it. Absolutely.
I don't want to tell my kids they can't go into entertainment, but there's definitely a part of me that wants to trick my kids into not wanting that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she has it, but, she's been on sets with her dad. And, she passes posters of Abby and Alana in Broad City, and she's like, there's Abby and Alana. Eric works on Broad City now. And so, like, there's a lot of that comes into our house, our world, that she thinks is day to day that must come into everybody's household. Everybody must know Abby and Alana. And they should. If you can, you'd be very happy. but she's funny. She takes after her dad. She's funny.
You're pretty funny too, Amy Ryan. Give me a break. You're super funny.
Well, I didn't say she was super funny. I said she's funny. No, that's going to haunt me when she's older. This recording will haunt me. Great. Screwed.
Well, Amy Ryan, I'm so grateful to you for taking all this time to come on Bullseye. Oh, it's just such a joy to get to talk to you. I admire your work so much.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Amy Ryan, ladies and gentlemen. Go see Abundant Acreage Available if you can. It's in theaters in New York City right now. We'll have a link to the trailer on our website. Just find the Bullseye page at MaximumFun.org.